Hi folks, hope you're all okay and hope you're having a great week so far. So, two more Grand Prix to go before the summer break, and the first of those two taking place at Silverstone this weekend for the British Grand Prix. Grand Prix that I'm really looking forward to. Not going to be at Silverstone this year, but even so, I'll definitely be watching from home. And it'll be a Grand Prix where we'll see the trial or trialing of the new sprint format. So it'll be interesting to see how the drivers take to it on the weekend, and yeah, really looking forward to seeing how that works. As I'm going to talk about that very briefly later on, but there've been plenty of other stories making the headlines in the world of Formula One. One of which, unfortunately, McLaren put out a statement, I think it was Monday, to say that Lando Norris had unfortunately been mugged whilst he'd attended, whilst he was at Wembley for the Euro 2020 finals, had his watch taken, and understandably, you'd be for anyone, you'd be shaken by that. First and foremost, my thoughts are with Lando. Hope he's okay, and yeah, my thoughts are with you, and yeah, we can't wait to see you race at this weekend at the British Grand Prix, and like I say, my thoughts are with Lando, but it's those incidents that shows that there really are the lowest of the low people out there, and it disgusts me, absolutely disgusts me that people think it's okay to do that, and also to the fact that there's always a small minority of people that have to spoil it for everyone, and in everything. So yeah, really, like I say, my thoughts are with Lando, and whoever did end up taking what mugging him and taking his watch. Hope they get caught, and yeah, get the punishment that they deserve. But anyway, coming off that, and speaking of Lando, actually, him and McLaren really on great form at the moment, and Lando is having the season of his life at the moment, and you wouldn't back against it for him to end up being on the podium, and no doubt for Lando that would be such a special feeling. British driver driving for the British team, being on the podium at the British Grand Prix, now that would be something very, very special. And like I say, I wouldn't back against it. The form that Lando is in at the moment, the consistency he showed throughout 2021, I think there's no reason why he can't be on the podium and definitely be in contention to finish in the top three on race day. But yeah, no, I really wish Lando well this weekend, and obviously Dan Ricciardo as well. Now he'll go into the race at Silverstone off a good result actually at the last time out in Austria. Qualifying didn't go quite to plan. He knocked out in Q2, but he was able to recover well and pick up some good points in Austria. So I really hope Daniel can continue that good form and really build some momentum now. Pick pick up two strong results now before the summer break, and then take that good form into the rest of the season. So yeah, I think McLaren could potentially be on for a really strong weekend, and we know obviously Lando's not the only British driver who will be competing at their home Grand Prix this weekend. George Russell at Williams. So George is getting really close now, and I think Williams are getting close now to scoring points. And with the way things are going and the improvements that they've shown, particularly within the last three Grand Prix, they're definitely showing signs of improvement. And if they can take that into the rest of the season, take that into Silverstone, then I think George has got good as chance of scoring points as anyone this weekend. And yeah, that would be special, wouldn't it, for George? Scoring points for Williams for the first time in his career, and what better place to do it than at Silverstone? So I wish George and Williams all the very best for this weekend. And as I say, I think points are definitely on the cards for Williams this weekend. And if they can build on the positive showings that they've been putting in particularly these last three races, then I think Williams will definitely be in with a shout to finishing the points this weekend. And of course, the 7 times Formula One world champion, Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, he's in a title fight at the moment. Coming off second best at the moment against Red Bull and Max Verstappen. But if there's one race that Mercedes and Lewis, can bounce back at, the one to bounce back at, it's Silverstone. Mercedes. Traditionally it's been a Mercedes track, particularly in the hybrid era. And yeah, Lewis says we know that he loves racing at Silverstone and has won plenty of times, so he's got that winning feeling at Silverstone. And look, Mercedes, yes, they're 5 races without a win now, but they will. I reckon they will bounce back. Whether that's at Silverstone, I'm not sure, but with a bumper crowd, and you would think that the majority of supporters will be backing Lewis. They'll definitely be determined to put on a good show and to get back to winning ways. And what better way to do that than at Silverstone and at the British Grand Prix? So no doubt Lewis will be fired up this weekend and want to get back to winning ways. But one of the things we saw earlier this week was a report launched by the Hamilton Commission, and I've had a read of it very briefly, and yeah, very very startling actually in terms of some of the statistics that I came across. Just give you a couple for example. So, less than 1% of Formula One's workforce come from black or ethnic minority backgrounds. Now, looking in from the outside, looking into Formula One and motorsport in general, I do see not many people of black and also ethnic minorities at Grand Prix weekends, so I don't see that. But even so, that statistic really startled me, really got me thinking, and yeah, it just really surprised me as well to think that that lower number of people from ethnic backgrounds are in Formula One, and to see Lewis and the Commission do something about it to want to be able to increase diversity in Formula One, in motorsport as well, I think is fantastic, and I wish Lewis all the very best with that. But also another statistic that really caught my eye was the fact that there's only been 2 female team principals and also no black team principals in Formula One's entire history. Those 2 female principals, I believe, Manisha Kaltenborn, while she was with Sauber, and then also Claire Williams, who obviously we saw leave Williams recently. So that really surprised me. And also, yeah, noted black team principals in Formula One's history as well, which I find, I wouldn't necessarily say upsetting, but it did definitely made me think. And as I say, to see what Lewis and also the Commission are doing to be able to want to increase diversity in Formula One, in motorsport, to get more people of black and ethnic minorities involved in the sport, I think can only be a good thing. Obviously, we've seen. Look, we know Lewis. He will fight for what he truly believes in, and we know that he wants to, as part of his legacy, he wants to um, increase diversity and representation within motorsport in Formula One, and I can only take my hat off to him in terms of what he wants to achieve as part of his legacy. So yeah, I wish Lewis all the very best, and the Commission as well with that. And yeah, I think it's very inspiring in terms of what it is. So he's looking to he's looking to um, achieve. And I touched on Mercedes earlier about them having not won a race now for the last five races. So as I say, Silverstone presents them with a great opportunity to bounce back. I believe they do have upgrades planned for this weekend. Whether they have the impact that they would like, only time will tell. But at the moment, Red Bull, Max Verstappen, they're running away with both the drivers and the constructors championships. But there's still a long way to go this season, and it just takes a couple of Mercedes victories and strong results ahead, and for them to finish ahead of Red Bull, and they're right back in the fight. So, as I say, there's a long way to go this season, and don't count Mercedes out at this point. And as I say, I've seeing Red Bull, Mercedes going head to head like they are at the moment, I think can only be great for the sport. And with all the regulations coming in next year as well, hopefully we see more teams now involved um, with that battle at the front, and we see more teams winning races, which again can only be a great thing for Formula One. So also we now know that the Australian Grand Prix has been cancelled for the second time this year. Real shame, really, because I know that there were changes made to the Albert Park circuit for which would have been the race would have been this year to to see more overtaking at the track. So a real shame that we won't see Formula One in Australia this year. And I know how much passionate the Aussies are about their Formula One. So yeah, real shame that we won't be going to Australia this year. But fingers crossed that we're back in Australia for 2022. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Australia isn't the only Grand Prix that is cancelled. So potentially, well, we've already seen Singapore cancel their race this year and replaced by Turkey. So maybe perhaps some of the other flyaway races may be postponed, and potentially, you look at Brazil, you also look at Mexico. Potentially, with the way things are going, you look at the COVID situation in those countries. It wouldn't come as a surprise that those races will be cancelled. But I know that Formula One are already working on backup plans to ensure that if those races do get cancelled, then they've got a backup plan. So yeah, so as I say, real shame that Formula One won't be in Australia this year. But fingers crossed, we're back at Albert Park in 2022, and we'll also get to see the new track layout as well in action as well. So yeah, a lot has happened in Formula One. And just very quickly, I mentioned about Lewis Hamilton earlier about his work with the commission. We know he's also signed a 2-year deal with Mercedes as well. Interesting to see as part of those contract talks as to whether he's had a say in terms of who he'd like as his teammate for next year. Now, questions are going to continue and speculation is going to continue to rise about Valtteri's Bottas's situation at Mercedes. But I think what Valtteri can take heart from is the fact that he's been on the podium for the last two races, and if he can continue to be on the podium and consistently, for the rest of the season, then I think Mercedes has got no other choice but to keep Valtteri. And look, Valtteri, you could argue, has played the perfect number 2 role at Mercedes. When Lewis does eventually retire from Formula One, the question Mercedes have to ask is, can Valtteri be that team leader? Can he be can he take the team forward, and can he be a contender for the drivers' championship? So that's something that Mercedes will have to consider as to whether they go with Bottas for next season, or they go with George Russell. So yeah, that's a tough choice for Mercedes. But if I was in their shoes, and if Bottas can continue to build on the good form actually that he's shown in the last couple of races, then I think they've got no other choice but to keep Valtteri. And yeah, and it'd be interesting to see what happened with George. But as I say, Williams are definitely showing signs of improvement. So if Williams can continue to improve the car, then perhaps we'll see more of George's potential in Formula One. So yeah, so big decision that lies ahead for Mercedes in terms of who will be teammate for Lewis Hamilton next year. But yeah, so that is the end of my look ahead to the British Grand Prix. Actually, before I forget, actually, I was going to mention about the sprint format. So, obviously, we've got a sprint format that will be taking place at the British Grand Prix. That will be trials. So we'll have first free practice session on Friday, then a qualifying session, which will normally take place on Saturday. That will take place on Friday evening, and then that will determine the grid for sprint qualifying, which will take place on Saturday. So a third of the race distance, and of course before that, you'll have the second free practice session on Saturday. And then, as I mentioned, with the sprint qualifying, so that'll be half an hour uh, race, and then on race day itself, the full distance that will take place as normal on Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see what the drivers make of the format. I think it's exciting. I think it's always good to try new things in Formula One. No, if it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off. But you gotta try new things, and yeah, just see what the fans think. I think the fans obviously are a big part of in being entertained when it comes to Formula One, and getting them involved as well. But as I say, the teams, the drivers, be interesting to see get their thoughts on the sprint format once the weekend has British Grand Prix weekend has taken place. But like I say, I'm actually quite excited about the um, new trial of sprint, and we'll see how it plays out, and you never know, may even see some surprise results this weekend. But anyway, now that is the end of my preview, looking ahead to the British Grand Prix. So hope you all enjoy the Grand Prix at Silverstone, and if you are attending the race, then keep safe and enjoy yourselves. And yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a hot weekend at Silverstone. So yeah, plenty of sun and cream. And yeah, have a great time at the British Grand Prix, and I will catch up with all you guys and girls later. If you do want to talk to me about Formula One, I'm on Twitter at Baggies20, and I'm also on Instagram, Manish Patel 89. Have a great weekend and take care, everyone.